China subscribed to Leninism and Marxism, where the working class control the commanding heights of the economy. And that's what we subscribe for. We are of the means of production being owned and controlled by the states. We want South Africa through the vision and the image of China, where you grow the economy, where you reduce unemployment, where you reduce poverty, and you can't take that away from China. And the state plays the central role with regard to that.
Malema's passion for South Africa is something to be admired, but his way of doing it is also interesting in that he looks at seeing as government as the central focus of how economic development happens, using China as the example. Whether that's the way Africa should develop across the board is something that we need to talk about as Africans, whether that is the only way to do it. I think there's still a role for private sector to work with government, and I don't think government needs to have the central role in terms of how economic development happens. But government does need to empower its people to be able to see development happen. Whether it empowers people by being one of the conduits that, people get credit and finance to help them build businesses and provide employment opportunities, that could be one way. Whether they have some things that are part of the state-owned, like core services that people need, and public sector, and in terms of health and hospitals and all that sort of stuff, that can be one case. But to say that the state has the central command of everything, I don't think that's the only way. It is one of the ways. I guess it's all about how people want to see economic development happen and how they want it to happen in a way that's fair and equitable. And with South Africa, like many African countries, we're in a particular boat where we've come from a colonial background where there was remnants of what colonialism left, but there was a massive gap in our understanding of economics and a massive gap in our capacity in public service, and that massive gap has been one of the things that has caused Africa to be stagnant and always in the back foot in terms of economic growth. Government has a role in filling that gap through education, through health, and through other things. The private sector has a role because if you enable the private sector to be what it wants to be, it can spur innovation. And innovation is better happens when it's allowed to happen in private hands, where people actually do their own research, do their own marketing and development. That meets particular needs for people, because government cannot have eyes on over everything. That's impossible, and there's no way anyone can know everything. But people in their own communities, in their local rural areas, can see the needs of their people. And if government can be the source of funding to support them to start those projects that will help their own rural communities or their own local urban communities, that will be something that's great. And that's something that African governments can do, rather than rely on massive foreign direct investment for particular mega projects. So owning all the means of production, it doesn't have to be that way, that government owns the means of production for the economy to grow.